Hello people, Carlito here once again. This time with a viewer request video. So this one is going to be all about my, I suppose, playing style, my attack strategy. Not just within a specific fight, but about how I choose the fights and all that kind of good stuff. So it's going to be difficult to show because anyone who plays Clash of Clans will know that things change from fight to fight and from day to day, but we'll give it a go and see what happens. For those of you who have been tracking my base, you'll probably know that my elixirs storages were down to just under halfway a couple of days ago, but I actually did my level 6 heal spell and that took an awful lot of elixir. But I'm now back to full once again, stacking up the barracks, which that's actually a good point. So I will stack one barracks 100% with barbarians, two barracks 100% with archers, and one barrack a 50-50 split, give or take. I'm not that precious about it, between barbarians and goblins. And I've got an army camp of 220 troops. So we'll look for a fight, and this is, you know, the live stream, so we're looking as I'm speaking. And if we get bored of searching, then what I will typically do is go for a fight that might be less in terms of available loot, but I can get in and out really quickly, go back to camp and start again. And I find that's the best way to keep momentum. If you keep searching for too long, you know, things can happen, so you might get a random disconnect, network error, someone might phone you up, you know, there's lots of things that can happen. And if you've sunk, you know, 30, 40, 50,000 gold into a search and then you can't actually complete a fight to get that money back, you're going to be pissed off. So this is a way to just make sure that you kind of mitigate that kind of risk. So we've been searching now for a couple of minutes actually, and we'll probably get into the stage where I'm starting to look for fights that, rather than maybe 150 to 200,000, maybe I'll take one that's 100,000 at this stage, just to make sure I can get back to camp, assuming of course I can get the 50,000 with a limited number of troops. And that's one of the key things for me. It's the amount of gold I loot per troop, and my target is about 2,000 gold per troop. It's not always achievable. You know, if I get 1,000 gold per troop, then I'm actually quite happy with that, but it won't allow me to get the 8 million gold per day, or rather the 800,000 to 1 million gold per hour, which is what you can do if you're a bit more pragmatic about the fights that you take and you're not always looking for the big loots. So I am starting to get frustrated now. There's lots of bases that are really low in terms of gold, and I'm surprised actually that people have such a low amount of gold in the storages. I find it difficult to log off with such a low amount in the storages. There's nearly always 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000, but these guys seem to log off and have next to nothing. That was an interesting base. I was thinking of it, but I am starting to think about getting back to base and starting again. I've been searching now for well over 3 minutes, I think, so it is time to do something. And this is actually a perfect base, so this is a good example of something that I will take really quickly just to replenish the gold that I've maybe spent on searching, and just to make sure that it wasn't a complete waste of time, all of that previous searching that we've been doing. So I've got no desire to get a trophy. I've got no desire for the elixir, given I'm basically maxed out on elixir, and the next good fight that I get will almost certainly, you know, max out my elixir. I only need another 25,000 and I'm maxed. So I let the troops do what they're doing. May as well, they're picking off some of the elixir, may as well leave them, and then I'm going to head back to camp. I think my my troops are going to be ready, given the time I've been away from camp. So we should be ready to go again. And yeah, perfect. The troops are ready. I'll stack up the barracks just so that we can prepare those for the next round, and then we'll head straight back out again. Looking at the clock, we've been going for over 5 minutes, and if I go over 10 minutes, the Reflector app will crash. Reflector is what I use to do my video recordings. So I might end up taking a fight in this video that doesn't really demonstrate a typical day, because I'm doing it more for the sake of the video rather than for the sake of my farming, if that makes sense. But this is a good candidate, I suppose. The elixir seems to be split between the mines and the storages, so it's a fair assumption that that'll be the same for gold. So I expect there'll be, I don't know, 100,000 in the storages and maybe 50,000 in the mines. So we'll see what we can get. Actually, this should be quite a good base to highlight some techniques that I'll use as well. So ignore the gold levels. I mean, the gold levels are probably a bit lower than I would typically go for, because to get the storages and to get the mines, I need to attack the whole base, and that's not worth it for 150 grand, basically. So although some of you might think 150 grand's worth going for, I wouldn't in this particular situation, because I need to attack the whole base, and that would go below my required ratio of troops to gold. So here we go. I've sent in the barbarians to distract the wizard. My archers are coming behind the barbarians, and now the wizard has gone. It's a simple strategy. This is actually going to be an interesting one, because I'm going to distract the mortar with the barbarians, and as the mortar's hitting the barbarians, my archers just broke through to get the gold, and that wasn't coincidence. If you saw me, I was looking at the mortar, looking at the archers, and I was timing it perfectly so that the mortar was distracted just when the archers broke through. And I do that quite a lot. I'm quite used to using that as a tactic in terms of distracting one defence while another troop does something else elsewhere. Actually, the Reflector app did crash, so I'm now no longer in the live stream, and I've gone back to my I completed the fight, went back to camp, and this recording is actually a recording from my replay menu. It wasn't the live, so as you can see, you can no longer see the troops I've deployed and how many I've deployed and all that kind of good stuff. But it's the same fight. It's just I suppose the second part of the fight after the video crashed. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, it's not that interesting now. You've probably seen everything I wanted to show you in this fight. Now what I'm trying to do is break into the gold storage, which is easier said than done, because the troops, for example, if I was to release goblins right now, would go for the elixir storage. They wouldn't try and break through the wall to get the gold storage. So I need to get in there first, which I've just done, and now the goblins can go in. And as we all know, goblins only need a couple of seconds, and the elixir is all but gone. Nearly gone. And I'm not going to get it with those troops. There wasn't enough. They got killed by the splash damage and the archer. But I've actually sent in some more archers because I needed, or I wanted rather, the trophy, or the star. I wanted to get some trophies just to maintain my trophy count. Excuse me. So here we are in terms of my troops and the build and how many I take. So I take 100 barbarians, 90 archers, and 30 goblins. That's a rough estimate. I don't do this to the letter every single time, so you might see different makeups in my army, but that's about the level I'll go for. So that's the build times: 2,000 seconds for all those barbarians, 2,250 seconds for all those archers, and 900 seconds for the goblins. And what that will mean in terms of things that you can relate to, if you divide all of that by the number of barracks that we've got, and of course by 60 to turn it from 1,000 seconds into minutes, we'd have 21.5 minutes to build 220 troops of that sort of makeup. So we're almost doing 3 fights per hour if we use all of the troops every single fight. And that's what I used to do, and when I was doing that I was making about 500,000 gold per hour, and I was typically taking 180 to 200,000 at every single fight. Sometimes I get 150,000, but I was doing about 500 grand per hour. However, I use a bit of a different strategy now, and that has allowed me to get up to closer to 1 million and sometimes more. So now what I do is play against the clock. I don't look for the big massive fights every single fight. I play against the clock, so I'm all about how many troops do I need to get that gold within a specific amount of time. So the loot per fight is unimportant. It's obviously a consideration, but it's not the main consideration. The main consideration is time, and I always stack troops while I'm away, and the reason for that, as you just saw, is that if you get a situation where you've been fighting for a long time and you come back to camp, your army's ready to go again. So there you go. It's time to say goodbye from the king and goodbye from the queen, and I hope that was useful. Bye for now.